possible. The other one would, on the personal side, is we were launching this business, Design Group International. My wife became ill in the year that we launched it, and it turned out to be a very rare cancer. And she had 16 years of that cancer and 19 occurrences of that cancer while we were raising our family. She never had remission before she passed away. And so we went into that season and learned something. And I would say the reframe for that was there was a moment we said, maybe about 5 years in, this is not a chapter in our lives. This is the book. This is writing our life story. It's long enough. It's not just a season. It's the whole deal. So let's get some values in place that will help us.
Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. Our guest today is Dr. Mark Vincent. He is a maestro-level leader, has written several books, one of which, Listening, Helping, Learning, is, I think, one of the more popular ones of his books, and you may want to take a look at it. After building his own company and leading that, he transitioned and now helps executives. He's an executive advisor and helps executives to increase their level of leadership and improve their level of leadership. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Welcome, Dr. Vincent.
It is a real pleasure. I admire the work that you're doing, the life that you've lived, and hopefully I can make a small contribution in the middle of some background noise. This is about reframing, and I've had to reframe today. I got stuck at an airport and I found the quietest place I could go, but it's not all that quiet. So I sure apologize for the noise.
Okay, so we'll understand if we suddenly hear an announcement overhead. I've been there before, so
Yeah, any of
that's
us who are doing work and helping people, if we travel at all,
yes,
we get stuck sometimes.
yes. Okay, so we will hope for the best. So welcome. I enjoyed our pre-interview conversation, and would you share with us, in any way from your business side or from your personal life, the one or two anecdotes, let's say, in which
Sure.
you were faced with situations where you had to take a different perspective to reframe, or where you counseled others to do that.
Well, I'm happy to do that. And here comes one of those background announcements. So hopefully it's not leaking through too much. Let me just check on that. Is it?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, very good, very good. All right. So two things come to mind readily. One is on the business side, and one is personal. On the business side, I had a lot of background in group process and group decision making. I did some academic training. I was just young enough many years ago when this was new stuff. People weren't used to saying things like brainstorming and teaming and win-win scenarios and mind mapping and pulling newsprint out to write down ideas. A lot of business environments is just some tall white guy in the corner office telling everybody what to do and kind of had all the power, and everybody waited to be told what to do. But when it was starting to be, well, what do you think? What might you add? How can we confer on this? How do we get everybody's concerns on the paper so that we can try to keep everybody literally at the table and aligned and engaged with what we're going to do? That was resisted by a lot of people. It kind of felt it was like a lot of holding hands and kumbaya and a lot of emotion, and they didn't care for it very much. And so working with a lot of that resistance, at first, I started with, well, let me show you. Let me show you the data. Let me show you how this works. Let me teach you. That doesn't work, by the way. And I think you know that. I think your listeners know that. What I had to change and reframe, and then became the way I became more successful, was able to build a company that did this kind of work. So we started asking questions. Instead of telling, we started asking. So if someone said, well, why should we do it this way? we didn't have an answer for that anymore. We didn't try to teach anymore. We would say, well, there's obviously something going on here, something that brought me into the room, something that you said, well, let's see what you can do. Can you tell me more? And can you tell me what you tried? And can you tell me what you would have tried next? And if it was up to you, what would you have done? And people would just step right into it and start talking. The resistance would melt because you got them speaking about what they cared about. And all you had to do was organize their answers into a sequence, and a process would emerge. And so we found out it was so much more about mental discipline and the ability to, engage in inquiry than it was to try to teach. And a lot of success was built off of that. So that was a major reframe and helped it become possible. The other one would, on the personal side, is we were launching this business, Design Group International. My wife became ill in the year that we launched it, and it turned out to be a very rare cancer. And she had 16 years of that cancer and 19 occurrences of that cancer while we were raising our family. She never had remission before she passed away. And so we went into that season and learned something. And I would say the reframe for that was there's a moment we said, maybe about 5 years in, this is not a chapter in our lives. This is the book. This is writing our life story. It's long enough. It's not just a season. It's the whole deal. So let's get some values in place that will help us, as opposed to pausing and waiting and trying to endure something until it would pass. So we began to change our priorities, change how we did things, and it gave us new hope, new life, helped us maximize the years that we had together. I mean, we had a 31-year marriage, and more than half of it, she was very, very sick. And I was the primary caregiver. I had a lot of help. It wasn't just on me. I was so grateful for my family. But launching a business while you're managing that kind of caregiving, you have to find a different way to live your life than the I'm just going to move it up and to the right and accomplish things and collect trophies. So those would be two things that really stand out to me.
If I can start actually with the latter one, and you mentioned changing your values, etc. Can you share with us some of the values that you embraced as you and your wife and family face this challenge?
There are several. One has to do with the timing of things. There is a real tendency among human beings to postpone hard things, thinking they will pass. So we don't change the hot water heater, even though we could have a better deal and save water and electricity. We don't go to the doctor and just say this symptom that I'm facing is going to pass. It'll be better next week, next month, next year. Maybe I'll grow out of this. If I find out I have a diagnosis and I have to deal with it, I don't want to know that, so I'm not going to ask. So that only lengthens the suffering. It doesn't prevent it. It doesn't diminish it. And we will all collect our stories of suffering. So I'm not trying to paint my story as a particularly more difficult one than others face. I just had my difficulties. We had our suffering, but we learned to deal with things as they arose, to name it, do something about it, but only what we could do about it. So there are many things you can do nothing about. And so to release that, to live with open hands and to not be given over to complaining, to struggling against things. We wrote a book together about 12 years into her disease called Fighting Disease, Not Death. And that was a
Disease, not
fighting disease, but not death.
not
So
doubt or
not death,
death.
death,
Oh, death.
death. Yeah, because if you fight disease and death, you're not living. You're just angry all the time. If you don't fight either one, then you're not doing anything for anybody else's benefit. You're just giving up. If you fight death, but not the disease, you're not living well. And so what you do is death is inevitable. So can't really fight that, but you can fight disease by doing what you can so that others might learn. So in Lori's rare cancer, she lives so long that the treatment protocol she was on is now more of a standard protocol for others. And she would keep choosing whether she would do something more in her treatment course on the basis of whether others would benefit downstream, not to prolong her life, but to measure it for the benefit of others. And that was a value
Mm-hmm.
change or a value increase. And then there's just maybe one more, and that is we did what we could to be at peace in our relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
Life is too short to be warring in your family, to harbor resentment against your friends, to be given all of your conversations over to your hurts and your wounds and how you want things to be different. So we really tried to be at peace, and that paid some really rich dividends in our life. It wasn't like being doormats where people walk over you, but if you're not harboring hurt or pain and you live in forgiveness and in love, you are better able to be surrounded by supporting people. And cancer, by the way, is a disease that gets fed by stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're really reducing stress, you live a longer life. Lori had a less than 2 year prognosis when she was diagnosed. She was never in remission. She was never cancer free, but she did live 16 years. And I am absolutely convinced it was because of some of those choices.
Yeah. Fight disease, don't fight death. And as you said it,